right. Welcome, everybody, to today's art business webinar. Just give me a second. I got to get some things dialed in here. Hide selfie. Okay, good. Yeah, welcome, everybody. My name is Patrick. I run the marketing department here at Art Storefronts. Been doing that for a whole bunch of years. Presumably, if you guys are here, you're all here because you have a creative business of one sort or the other, and you would like it to be growing quicker than it is currently. Your timing is good because what we have coming up is the fourth quarter, what we call Q4, and it's essentially the biggest art selling time of the year. In there is Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but really what's transpired, at least in the United States, is there's now just a holiday buying season. It's not even really tied to any one day anymore. Like, everything goes on sale late October, and it just is that way all the way up until the run up to Christmas. And so if you get your ducks in a row, you do some marketing ahead of time, you get your art up on a website, and you plan for these holidays, you stand the possibility of selling more art, more photography than at any other time all year long. And the heyday of it is really November, but November, early December. So every year we kind of, as a business, Art Storefront, start banging the drum earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier about the fact that Q4 is coming, because really, you know, we're despite the fact I hate running, we're all in this business, we're all marathon runners, and the big race is coming up. And if the big race is coming up and you are not now, by which I mean today, going and doing the short little runs to start getting ready for the big race, then you're going to have a difficult time when it comes around. And I think that's an apt analogy, despite the fact I hate running. So agenda for this session today, being that it's the fourth quarter is coming up, I want to talk about a couple of things that I know paralyze most artists and photographers at a high level. Specifically, I'm going to talk a little bit about the website scenario, and then also pricing, because pricing is just the Achilles heel of the vast majority of artists and photographers out there, period. I know this, and I have some very, very interesting ways that you can hack at that and get better at pricing and how to think about it and approach it. So during the course of the session, we have a little bit of a smaller group on here for a Monday, which is a good thing. If you've got questions, you can raise your hand digitally speaking. Let me show you how that works in Zoom. So there's like a little reactions button down here on your bar. It looks a little different if you're on your phone, but when you're on your computer, it's on there. You can click that thing. You can raise your hand digitally speaking, and that lets me know you have a question. I can unmute you. You can ask, and I can do that throughout the presentation. That's generally pretty fun to do. If you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to turn your camera on. Okay, I hate being on video, so I totally understand that. Audio only is completely all good. And you can also throw questions in the chat. So again, at the bottom of your little Zoom window, there's this little speech bubble icon, and it says chat. You click that thing, it pops out a little box. Little box looks something like that, and you can just type your messages in there and throw them in there, and I can answer those as well as we sort of roll along. So I figured we would start up top with the website situation, right? And if you're here, you likely know that if you want to be effective at selling your art, your photography, you know it needs to be up on a website, right? It's a critically important selling tool for an artist and photographer in today's day and age. The problem with the websites, okay, is anybody that's been doing this for any period of time, any length of time, by which I mean trying to create and build an art or photography business, you end up noticing something, which is primarily artists, but photographers too, tend to bounce around from a bunch of different websites, from one website company to another one, to a marketplace. You know, if it's the photographers, they're like parking their entire archive on why am I blanking on all the names of them? I don't know, having a Monday brain fart. What are all the ones called? Anyway, the ones where you upload your entire portfolio and you can order prints or whatever. And my point in all that is, you guys, the creatives, throughout your career, you hop around from one website to another, to a marketplace, back to another one, and nothing in the business ever changes. Nothing changes. And you ever notice that happens again and again and again? That seems to be like a regular, repeatable pattern. And the reason that happens is not that you're necessarily solving the problem wrong. It's that you're solving the wrong problem. And the way that I like to contemplate that is like, you know, everybody approaches their website and they say, I need to have a website. I want to have a website that represents me and my work in a clean and professional manner. I want to have a website that offers a pretty portfolio of my work. I need a website that serves as a fancy online resume of all my shows and fairs and awards and accomplishments. And then equally importantly, I need a website that's going to represent the design aesthetic that appeals to my creative eye. And all of those questions are what normally frames up what individuals' websites look like. And they're the wrong questions. None of those questions matter even in the slightest, okay? The only questions you need to ask yourself of your website is, does my website make it easier for me to capture leads, by which I mean email addresses? Does it make it easier for me to work on my marketing? Does my website help me save as much time as possible with ordinary business tasks so I can spend that time working on marketing? Does my website make it extremely easy to run sales and promotions? Do I have the advanced selling features in there that allow me to play some technical e-commerce games? And I'll teach you those in a minute. And then most importantly, is the website help you take advantage of the latest and greatest forms of marketing? And once you sort of invert your thinking and you ask all of these questions of your website, whether or not they can help you become a better marketer, which is really your biggest question, then you're never going to have a website that's going to help you out. That is the primary reason that all of these artists and photographers hop from one to another to another to another to another, and then nothing in their business ever changes, is because they're trying to solve the wrong problems. They're asking of their websites the wrong questions. And when you stop this for a second, and when you realize your primary problem is just a marketing problem, if your website is not helping you solve the marketing and then correspondingly the sales problem, you're never going to get anywhere, okay? You're just not. Let's talk about looks, because this one's really important to me. Anything that we attempt to do in a digital online scenario, all we're trying to do is duplicate the most effective way to sell art and photography. And what is the most effective way to sell art and photography in the real world? It's inside of an art gallery. That is what all human beings understand. Doesn't matter if it's an art gallery or if it's a museum. All of them look the same. You ever notice that? You walk into an art gallery, you walk into a museum, there are white walls, there is the art, there is likely light on the art, there is a table where the gallery personnel can take credit card, and other than that, there is nothing else in there. And the reason is that puts all of the focus on the art, okay? It is critically important to understand that is the best context in which one can sell art photography. So knowing that, all we're attempting to do with our website is make our website look as close to that experience as possible, right? And it's quite literally, it's an art gallery, right? Like your website should look like that. It should represent this type of scenario. The only thing that pops off the walls here is the art and nothing else. Minimalist, plain white walls, the art lit very, very cleanly. So what ends up happening when I look at all artists and photographers' websites that they build, right? Image sliders and videos and goofy fonts and 27 different colors and things laid out in these weird esoteric ways that if anyone was actually able to see your art, it would be a modern miracle. Okay, I've looked at thousands of websites created by artists and photographers that conform to what they think visually a website should look like. But guess what? That is not what a website should look like. That's what you think a website should look like, and you are not an e-commerce operator. You are not an experienced art salesperson, and if you were, you would realize that you have to make the thing minimalist. The only thing that matters is that the art is front and center, 100% of the focus, okay? And if you don't have it set up that way, you're essentially introducing friction, and people are going to bounce and leave your website, okay? It's a critically important thing that no one ever talks about. Next point, your website needs a proper range of products and a proper range of pricing. Now, I have an extremely detailed guide on this that I call Advanced Pricing Strategies for Artists and Photographers. I'm going to send it to you, don't worry. But at its core, you need on your website prices from $0 to $100, prices from $100 to $1,000, and prices $1,000 plus. You need to have non-wall art is a part of your lineup, okay? Have to have it. And the reason that you have to have it is not everybody is ready to buy wall art all the time. That's not how it works. And so when you're out there, you're doing your marketing, social media, you're doing in-person shows and fairs, You're attracting people into your ecosystem. They like what you do creatively. They would like to reward that creativity by potentially purchasing something from you. The problem is they're in between houses. They don't have any blank wall space. They're buying a vacation house in 3 years. And so when you don't have something that's non-wall art related to sell to those folks, they leave without purchasing something. And they'll never remember you ever again. And, you know, the easiest way to achieve the non-wall art, and I don't care how you do it. Everybody can do it individually. Everybody can do you. But the easiest way to achieve this is usually with merchandise of some kind or another. And I don't care what it is. It can be calendars or photo books or throw pillows or coffee cups or yoga mats or cell phone cases. I've got customers that like hand paint wooden spoons that you use in the kitchen. It doesn't matter what it is, okay? You have to have something that's non-wall art related to sell. When you do, you understand that you're not going to make millions of dollars on the merchandise. It is low margin stuff. Yes, sometimes it's lower quality stuff, but guess what? When's the last time somebody went to a museum that didn't have a gift shop? Don't worry, I'll wait. Let me know what museum you've been into that doesn't have a gift shop. Let me know what rock concert you've been to of whatever the band is that didn't have a merchandise booth. And the reason is that yes, you make a little bit of money on that stuff. Yes, you can sell that stuff when people are not buying wall art, but all it really is marketing. If I got drawn into your ecosystem, you posted something cool on Instagram, I'm like, wow, I really like what this person does. I start following you. I'm like, wow, I really want to reward their creativity, but I'm living in my mother's basement right now, and I'm safe enough to buy a house, so I don't have any wall space. And then I buy a coffee cup from you, okay? You probably make $4 on the coffee cup. I don't care. It is marketing. I am now drinking my coffee some number of times per week, every single solitary day, looking at your art all day long. So when I finally do move out of my mother's basement and I'm ready to purchase some art, who is going to be top of mind for me? You. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. So very, very important that you get that ironed in, okay, is having non-wall art as a part of the lineup. Next, you have to properly mark up your art so you can negotiate, number one, and number two, run sales. These are mental traps that most artists and photographers fall into. Negotiate? I'm not going to negotiate on my art of photography. That's going to cheapen the work. Run sales? I'm not running sales or promotions. That's going to cheapen me, cheapen the work, cheapen people's ideas. Biggest bunch of bullshit in the history of mankind. Number one, almost all art is negotiated on. Almost all of it. Only the stuff that sells at Sotheby's and Christie's for way over asking price, which is approximately 0.00001% of art and photography sold, does not get negotiated on. Everything else does, okay? The only two brands that I'm aware of that don't run sales are Louis Vuitton and Tiffany's. That's it. I don't know any other ones. Maybe there's a couple, but that's it. And unless you think your brand is that sweet, you need to be running sales. So once you understand that you need to be prepared to negotiate, once you understand that you need to be running sales all year long, that is when your markups become critically, critically important. How we like to approach markups is it's very easy to do, and let's go back to our price range. $0 to $100, you don't really need to negotiate in that price range. They should just pay you for what it's worth. On the merch, not so much. On the prints, not so much. If you want to, fine, you can. And occasionally run promotions and that stuff, fine. But the 0 to 100 is not the sweet spot. The 100 to 1,000 and the 1,000 plus. In there should be prints, okay? Canvas prints, metal prints, acrylic prints, wood prints, whatever you do. Those should all be marked 250% up from your purchase price. So whatever your wholesale cost of that thing is, you should mark it up 250%. You do roughly the same calculation on your originals, but it can be back in napkin, right? Like if you've got an original and you're charging $1,000 for it, you'd like to get $1,000 for it, price it at $1,250. So that when somebody comes in to negotiate or when you can run a sale, if you really want to get the $1,000 for it, you'll be in a good situation to get the $1,000 for it, okay? Critically, critically important that you get that nailed down. Once you do have that nailed down, and your website better help facilitate you nailing that down, you are in a phenomenal, phenomenal spot. You have the business, okay, that is offering price points. And by the way, I'm throwing in the chat right there. This is the guide on the pricing strategy. I'll email it to you after the fact too. But once you have this lineup, okay, 0 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 plus, non-wall art, it solves so many problems for you. It's crazy. And I talk in depth in the article about how to contemplate the various different media types, and from media types to the different media types to limited editions to originals on how to best get there. And it works for both photography and fine artists. you'll find that number one, you stop getting lowball offers because people understand that there's a range of pricing that you have. Number two, when someone does come in with a lowball offer, which infuriates you, it's much easier to say, no, I'm not going to sell that to you for $400, but let me show you what I do have in my lineup for $400. It makes sense to people. You're prepared to negotiate. It's easier for you to charge time and materials what you're worth because the whole thing is just a mathematical equation, right? Like, everything in life falls into a bell curve. I'm looking for a pen here. Oh, actually, I have a graph of it here. That'll show this a little bit better. Do I have it here? Let me show you. When you're out there doing your marketing, okay, and you're attracting people into your ecosystem, what inevitably happens is all of these people fall into a socioeconomic bell curve, okay? In this case, lower class, ignore the percentages, but lower class, middle class, upper class, high net worth individuals, right? If you don't have price points for each of them, you essentially don't have anything to sell to people that are on the lower end or on the higher end, right? They're never going to be as interested the upper class types, if you don't have something that really, blows their hair back in terms of a big expense, which is why you have to have the stuff above 1,000. I even argue, like, if you've got pieces that are like in the $5,000 to $7,000 to the $10,000 range, price one of them at $50,000. Doesn't matter. It's there to cater to this socioeconomic bell curve, which literally everyone's followers fall into. No matter who's out there doing the marketing, this is what your followers are going to fall into. And the beautiful thing about this thing is it's not a fixed variable. People move up and down that curve all throughout their lives, and you're ideally going to have them for a customer for their entire life. So you need to have the prices for all three, okay? Critically important stuff. Once you get it, and the article goes in depth on like a crazy tactical level, so much of the fear, the psychological paralysis, the how do I charge what I'm worth, the how do I deal with low balls, self-confidence, how do I raise my prices? Once you work on the range, all of this stuff just takes care of itself. It is absolutely amazing at how effective this little formula is. And it doesn't work for 100% of businesses out there. Like, I talked to somebody on Instagram yesterday. He's like, dude, I grab rocks and I paint rocks. That's it. Like, the water rocks. And I was like, okay, well, it's probably going to be a little harder for you to get a $2,500 rock, right? and get some non-wall art, because what are you going to do? Like, sell rock socks or something. I don't know. So it depends on what kind of business you're running. But for 95% of you, the formula will work. You just need to have it going on. Let's get back on the website. This goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. Your website needs to be enabled for e-commerce, okay? Which means people need to come to the site, see prices, and be able to check out and understand what things cost, and do all of that without having to talk to you at all. And even if you do your sales over the phone, you will find that you're going to get a lift in those sales, okay, when they can come to the site, look at the range of pricing, understand everything. Nobody wants to fill out your damn contact form. Nobody wants to contact your agent or any of those things in between. Do not introduce more friction into the system, okay? COVID took the e-commerce adoption rate in this country from where it was growing, which was really, really healthy, and essentially took 10 years of e-commerce growth, the percentage of commerce occurs online versus traditional brick and mortar. It took 10 years of growth and smushed it down into like a month and a half. And so more art and photography is being sold via e-commerce at this point in time than any other time in history, and it's going to continue growing. So very important. And again, no one wants to fill out your damn contact form, okay? You need on your website to have very easy lead capture, okay? Do I like pop-ups? No. Do you like pop-ups? No. No one likes pop-ups, but guess what? They work, okay? There is a reason that on every single solitary e-commerce site that we go to, something like this is the first thing you get hit with. And the reason is because it's effective. It is now just a rule of e-commerce. And so if your website does not make it extremely easy for you to deploy e-commerce pop-up forms like this, save 20% off your first order, 10% off your first order, free shipping, whatever it is, you are never going to capture the amount of emails that you potentially could. Without those emails, you don't have anyone to market to. The business does not grow. So you need to be able to deploy these things very easily. You need to be able to change these things very easily. And if it takes you some other third-party piece of software where you have to learn how to code in a bunch of time, you're never going to end up changing the thing. So you need to have one, okay? Critically important thing. Next, your website needs to make it easy for you to be able to run sales and promotions. So yes, that's coupon codes. Yes, that's things like hello bars, the little bar at the top of the website, like this month only sale 10% off. You need to have granular control of your markups, right? So you can set your markups for all your pieces, and then when you do a coupon code for 10%, you're not going to lose any money on any of those items because you have your markups set at a global level. I teach my customers all year long how to market. Okay, if for some reason something is difficult to do, they will not do it. They will not do it. And so if your website is making it extremely difficult for you to run sales, you're not going to do it. I already know that. Everyone knows that. You know that. So it's critical that you sort this portion of your website. It needs to make it easy for you to do all these things, the coupon codes, to spin a sale up, to turn a sale off. And I put in this article, which is so true, is one of the most predictive metrics that I can see based on my customers, the ones that are making the most money, are number of sales run per year. Full stop. So the ones that are running more promotions throughout the year have bigger art and photography businesses because everyone runs sales. That is just the nature of this business. It doesn't matter that it's art or photography. There is a reason that all stores run sales. It's because they're effective. There is an equation, a psychological equation. Discounts plus scarcity equal human beings more likely to take action. The discount can be anything. It doesn't even matter what it is. This is a mathematical equation, a psychological mathematical equation. And the discount scarcity, discount 5% off, 10% off, 50% off, buy one, get one free, free shipping, free tote bag with your order. I don't care what it is. No one does. It's just math. The scarcity ends today, ends tomorrow, 12 hours left, ends Black Friday. You have those two things in an equation, and you get human beings, us, that are more likely, your potential buyers, that are more likely to take action. Moreover, as we move into, I don't even want to say the R word. I'm an optimist. I like to think that our economy is going to turn around. But let's just say as we move into uncertain economic times, the sales that get made are the ones that convince the buyers that they're not paying retail, that they're getting an incredible deal, and that they are being sensitive and smart with their money in rough economic times. That is just a fact. Meaning if you're not on sale and someone else is on sale and your art is better than theirs, they are likely to get the sale because nobody in uncertain economic times wants to pay retail for anything. Another just fact. So it's very important to understand the sales, which is why the markups are so doggone important, right? I really believe also that your website needs to have print on demand, okay? We're not the only game in town to do this. Don't take this as a sales pitch. There's lots of them out there. But what do I mean by print on demand? I mean, you don't have to carry any inventory. You don't have any order quantities, minimum order quantities. You can get an order on your website. It can be printed, boxed, and shipped. All the emails sent without you lifting a finger, without you driving to the printer, without you getting a tracking number, without you calling UPS. Did it arrive yet? Looking at proofs. You don't need to be doing any of that. Moreover, you can offer all the media types right out of the gate. You upload your work, and the next thing you know, you are now selling paper prints, canvas prints, metal prints, acrylic prints, wood prints if you're so inclined. Yes, limited editions. Yes, your originals. Yes, non-wall art. The fact that in this industry, you can now be in a scenario, okay, where you do not have to have any order minimum whatsoever. You do not have to hold any inventory whatsoever, including on the merch side of things, is amazing. That is amazing. Back in the day, if you wanted to offer calendars, you used to have to order 1,500 of them to get a decent price, and then you'd have to sit on them and hope that they all sold. And once a year goes by, you're cooked on that calendar. So too the various different prints. So the fact that all of this can be done print on demand now is amazing. It's incredible, and you need to have that. And the reason you need to have that is because the only way your business is going to grow is if you take the amount of time that most people do monkeying around and driving to the printer and getting emails and sending tracking numbers and looking at proofing and boxing stuff up and putting it in your car. All of that is not going to grow your business. That is better outsourced to someone else so that you can take that time and you can work on creating, work on marketing, work on selling. If your website doesn't help you do that, the deck is stacked against you, okay? Very, very, very important one, that one. I would also argue, okay, no one teaches artists and photographers this, that you need to employ advanced selling features. Okay, these are advanced selling features that are no different than earlier. I mentioned the gallery is the best way to sell art or photography, right? That's what we all know, that is the paradigm. So we want to make our website look just like that experience, right? We're taking what works in the real world and we're moving it to our digital world because the rules are the same. The same applies for advanced selling features. Now, I'm going to give the example of the hardware store. You know, when you go to the hardware store and you're getting ready to check out, you have whatever you have in your hand, and they snake us through those lines while we're waiting, and everything is on sale. They got fly swatters and duct tape and cell phone cables and flashlights and cookies and candy and water and all kinds of nonsense we never thought we needed, right? The reason that they do that is that the easiest time to get an additional dollar amount added to your order, additional items added to your order, is when you have that credit card in your hand and you're ready to check out. So there are pre-purchase sales incentives, meaning that little aisle and all that stuff they try to get us sell us. You know, all that's doing is increasing the AOV, the average order value. I came into the hardware store. I was buying something for $50. Then I didn't realize that I needed a fan attached to a water bottle that I could spritz myself with. And so now instead of spending $50, I'm spending $62. You spread that out across every single solitary customer, you have a much bigger business. Then I get up to the cash register and everything's in there, my stupid water spritzer thing and my $50 thing. And they're like, by the way, you know, credit card's already in. By the way, duct tape's on special. Do you want to add duct tape to your order for whatever, $6? You're like, yeah, okay, great. I need a roll of duct tape. So what's happened there, what happens in the real retail world is before the credit card information goes in, they're attempting to sell us additional things. After the credit card goes in, they're attempting to sell us additional things, okay? Those two pre-purchase and post-purchase behaviors have now been moved online. Every smart e-commerce merchant that's operating out there right now uses it. And the idea is that, you know, I can actually show it. They have terrible names for these things. I did not name these things. Whoever did name these things, I would like to drive to their house and pistols at dawn. But here, before you check out, right, confirm purchase, you're about to place your order. Do you want to add such and such to your order for only $40.46? Boom. So if you're the majority of smart e-commerce merchants out there see this. Oftentimes when you go to check out, you'll see this, right? So this is no different than the stuff in the aisle when we're waiting to check out at the hardware store. The next one is after your purchase is completed, you've unlocked it, you know, your order has been successfully processed. Do you want to add such and such to your order for a limited time, countdown timer? So they call these things order bumps and one-click upsells in the web world. Terrible names. But this is as old as time, right? Like for our entire lives, we've been going to the supermarket, and while we're waiting in line, there's all the magazines and the bubble gum and everything else. This stuff has worked in retail forever and ever and ever. All we're doing is moving it to this digital world and putting it into practice. And so when you have this and you spread this out over years, your average order value is going to go up. You're going to have a higher order value period, and you're going to move more of these merchandise related products, smaller products, which by the way is really just marketing. So critically important thing to have. You get all of that bolted in, okay, in addition to some other advanced features, and you're going to start solving the biggest problem that you have, which is the marketing problem, right? You guys all have a marketing problem. The marketing problem is not going away. It's not going away today. It's not going away tomorrow. It's not going away next year. It's not going away the year after that. You have to grind at the marketing as much as you are creating the art. You do those two things. You create the art, you market the art, you sell the art, you're going to win. If your website is set up to be able to enable you to do that and help you to do that, you're going to be significantly more successful as a business. The problem is most artists and photographers do not have websites like that, or they're trying to be on marketplaces, or there's a bunch of goofy stuff, or it requires all these extra efforts. And when you don't have that, I don't know how you make it. You're not going to run sales. You're going to waste your time on being busy instead of on actually growing the business. So We are not the only outfit in town that offers stuff like this. Okay, there are others. So don't take it as a cynical sales pitch like I'm the only one in town selling this. You have to come to me. You can go wherever you want, but until you start solving the marketing problem and until you start asking of your website to help you solve the marketing problem, then your business is not going to grow in any fundamental way. And that has got to start changing. That's got to start changing because selling directly from your website is the business model that all artists and photographers need to leverage, and you need your website to be able to do this and facilitate this for you. So you do those things, you're going to start having a business that's going to go in the right direction. That's my story. I will open it up now to Q&A. I do have one comment here, and it says, what does it say? So use Printful or on-demand services to link with the site. Yes, early on, that's what you should do. If you sign up with us, obviously you get all of that in a box. You can turn it on in 2 seconds, but I understand if you're not signed up with us, there's some hackier ways to do it. And, the other ones aren't as smooth as ours anywhere near, but the point remains. The fact that you don't have to have inventory is a huge, 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 huge thing. So that's what I would say. But we can open it up now for Q&A. You can ask any question about anything. Tasha, I see your question in the chat, which she says, have all that's still low sales, which sounds to me like you're having problems selling. Can't fix that one for you. Early on, you have to be able to sell your art, your photography to people not named mother, father, sister, family, friends, okay? Because those people would buy anything from you. They'd lay down in traffic for you, but that's not how you build a business. So the easiest way early on, Natasha, is do local fairs and shows. But go ahead, Troy. You're up. G, I see your question. I'll get to it in just a second. So, Troy, you have to unmute. It's the mic icon, bottom left-hand corner of your little Zoom window. You have to just click that thing once. I'll let you know when you get it. Are you there, Troy? Okay, I'm going to just...
All right, there we go.
Yep,
Sorry.
gotcha. No worries.
No, so I was just wondering, I know you talk a lot about photographers and painters because obviously you're print on demand and your wall display AR stuff. So what about sculptors? Like what's the does that AR utilize, they able to do sculptures like 3-dimensional objects into their space?
Yeah. So well, let's start at the top. What is the price point, the starting price point for your sculpture? And I'll let you know in a second why I asked that.
Average around 40. Like I do like a lot of garden art, so like 40 to 100-ish.
Got it. Yeah. So they're smaller ones. Yeah. So there's not really like an ideal platform that's dedicated just to sculpture. There just isn't. And so it's okay. So there's not gonna. My point in saying that is that there's not gonna be like any one extra bit of software that's going to help you with a visualization standpoint. There's just not. So you have to just choose an e-commerce platform and go on one. We're geared for wall art, but we're just an e-commerce shopping cart too, right? Like we have a ton of artists that are selling everything imaginable under the sun, including like books and music and digital classes and all the various different merchandise things. So you don't have to worry so much about the fact that all we talk about is wall art, but you have the same marketing problem everyone else does. Right? Like until you start solving that, the business is not going to be growing. So that would be your primary benefit with us is just, learning how to do that and learning how to grow that. But you also have to contemplate your product line and how you can continue to build that thing out. Can you make some bigger sculptures, right? And some more expensive sculptures and then have the cheaper ones as well.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. No, that's right. And then, so can that AR do 3-dimensional objects, or is it just wall art?
Yeah, it can. But admittedly, like that
not the greatest.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's like, and you'll appreciate that I don't BS and I don't sugarcoat things, and I don't.
Right.
I'm not. I like the AR feature, but it's a sizzly feature, meaning like. Everybody oohs and ahs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can I have that? I can't wait to have that. It's going to be incredible. It is mostly helpful in consultative selling, meaning somebody is like, I can't make the decision until I have the significant other. I can't decide between this one and that one. I don't know what's going to go best in here. And then they grab the phone, and it helps them get over the line, right? It is more. It's used more in that scenario than it is, someone saying like, Troy, I have this real problem. I can't visualize your stuff in my garden. Can I do it? Right. That's what I find from a tactical marketing standpoint. But they can be on your website. They can go out into the garden. They can have the thing projected. They can make it bigger or smaller, and they can nail it in anywhere anywhere in there. Period. So if you think that will help significantly, yes, it's good to go.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Troy. Okay, so hold on. So Gia Lee is asking, how does ASF help with marketing exactly? We're one part the website software, and we're another part, the larger part, a postgraduate university that only teaches art and photography, business, and marketing all year long. We have everything imaginable, from textbooks to in-person classes to office hours to one-on-one calls and what to do all year long. That's just what we teach all year long. So we educate you on absolutely everything, all the nuts and bolts, all of it. And we support you the whole way. Like when you get stuck and you need help with something and you're like, this is killing me, can I just talk to somebody? You can talk to somebody, in addition to just teaching you how to do everything, like literally everything that there is on all of it. How to capture emails, how to email those emails, how to run a sale, how to think about the discounts, how to market on Instagram, how to market on Facebook, how to go live, how to run a live art show, and everything in between. So that's what we do all year long. And we do this demo process, which is like it's like a hour tour of all the software, all the bells, all the whistles, all the behind the scenes, all the everything, and they'll walk you through all of that if you're interested and you want to see it. But we do hardcore teaching all year long, and it never stops. It never stops, because everything is just changing so doggone quickly. Like Instagram Reels is like a huge deal right now. Like Instagram Reels were not a thing until like 4 months ago, 2 months ago specifically. When well, I'll get into that later. If we have more questions about Reels. I love this question. Elisa, I love this question. It's one of my favorites, and I answer this in a very succinct way. And once you hear it, you'll appreciate it. And David, I got your email. I didn't get your email. I didn't see it, but I just copied the ones you sent me. I'll email you after this. So Elisa says, does it help to get art critiques or publish awards and mentions from art calls, or does that distract from sales? There are various different variations of this question, Elisa, and my posts get a ton of likes and a ton of comments and a ton of shares. I won an award in a prestigious this, that, or the other. I got accepted into a juried art show. Their local newspaper did a feature article on me and my art, right? I got these amazing art critiques, And I answer that question the same way every single solitary time. That is me at your front door. I'm going to pick you up, come outside, and I'm going to drive you to the local ATM machine, and you show me the button on the ATM machine for likes, comments, shares. Everyone tells me my work was great. I was in a juried art show. My work won best in show. None of that means anything. None of it. And there's no button on the ATM machine for any of those things, because none of it translates to in eventual sales. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, Like if you're publishing awards and mentions and everything else, that's fantastic. But unless the work is selling, it is all just vanity metrics. The only judgment about where that business is going is whether or not it's making sales. There is no other. So I don't hang my hat on any of that nonsense. All we do we're optimizing for sales at all times. That's it. Maria Bell says, I'm painting loose watercolor landscapes. What other product would be a good idea for print on demand rather than prints on paper and canvases? I would do metal. I would do acrylic. I would do wood. You would be surprised. People love that stuff. You can sell the entire range of merchandise. Like, watercolor on pillows actually looks incredibly well. Like there's a million different things that you can be selling. You just gotta just expand the product line to like what works for you, right? In what's gonna keep you on brand, right? That's what I would say. That's a good question. I really like that question. I'm scrolling up. There was another one in here. No, I think that was it. Who else, guys? Questions? Comments? There's one on Facebook. Let me get this. I'm going to pull my fat head out of here. As a multimedia artist with several styles, is it unwise to mix styles across the site, or is there a way to display some organization that makes sense? Okay, totally understand that. When I ask the question, I do abstract work that's both physical, from ink to paint, as well as color graffiti. Yep, totally get that. And yes, Doug, just to answer the question, we do greeting cards. They're pretty cool. We do a whole bunch of different products. There's like a lot. In terms of like mixing the styles on the website, yeah, 100%, you totally can. Early on in my career, like, here's what I would say. I feel like every artist or photographer somewhere during the course of their career sits down with somebody that they know in their life, that they grew up with, a mentor, a respected friend, whatever else, that's had like a good deal of success in some industry. And the advice, which I believe is extremely well-meaning, that they always get is, you need to figure out what your niche is. Until you figure out what your niche is, you're never going to make it, right? And that's what they hear. That's what they hear all the time. And that advice, while it sounds sound, throughout my career, I've now seen that it's not necessarily sound. Meaning, there are some artists on our platform that 100% have the niche. Like the minute that you see one piece of their work, you instantaneously recognize all of their work. And then there's some that sell the biggest menagerie of things that I can't even begin to tell you. Photography, this work, that work, everything in between. And it works for them. It just works for them because the people that follow them for their personality and their creative eye, and they quite frankly don't care what it is. And I've seen the one end of the scale and I've seen the other end of the scale, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no rules. There's no reason why one time it works and one time it doesn't. It's just sort of like there's so many different variables that go into an art business, right? It's not like some other business where, everyone's selling comparison items. And what ends up happening is analysis paralysis. I'll just get this art business going once I figure out what my niche is. And then you never get to work in front of enough people to ever even know what your damn niche would be. So my advice early on, is just to create and attempt to go sell, and don't pigeonhole yourself or put yourself in one box. You'll never, it's a game of archery. It really is. And what everyone does is that they take their one arrow, which is, this is what I like to create. This is what emotionally fulfills me. This is what I enjoy. And they try to fire it at the target. And if you only have one shot at the target, the odds are not very good that you're going to hit a bullseye, right? So you can create a number of different styles and try to see which one hits the bullseye. And the only way that works is if you're actively marketing and attempting to sell the work. If you're not, you're never going to know. So early on, have at it. Put all that stuff up there. Don't split it into 3 different brands, and go at it. And do regular and consistent marketing. And when you do, you'll figure it out. Yeah, and he's classic. He's like, I actually do shoot archery. The thing that artists never get taught. Pablo Picasso, when he died, 45,000 unsold works in his inventory. 45,000. Do you know what Pablo Picasso was doing? He was shooting arrows all the time, and a lot of them missed, and he didn't care. He didn't quit, right? He's like, I'm making it one way or another, and not everyone is going to love everything that I do, and the only way that I'll know that, right, is by continuing to create. Artist only needs to do 3 things. Create, market it so you get it in front of eyeballs, and attempt to sell it. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Nothing else. Nothing else. Which is why, I might add, we build your website for you when you sign up. You want to know why? Because if all an artist is going to do is create the work, market the work, and sell the work, nowhere in there should you be learning to become a web programmer, interfacing with GoDaddy, trying to figure out what HTML, CSS, or JavaScript means. You shouldn't be having to upload things, padding, formatting, any of that, right? You need to work on creating, then market, then sell, rinse and repeat, right? The game of archery. So that's why we exist. That's what we do. And it just goes. And do you know what's so funny? Someone else on here, like I use the archery analogy. It's like an artist releasing music with their sound. Some songs work, some don't. I heard the Bee Gees wrote somebody put it on the Instagram comment, the Bee Gees wrote like 1,000 songs, and they had 20 all-time top 10 hits, right? I was never really a fan of the Bee Gees. That was kind of before my day. But, that's this notion of like, artists and photographers create the one thing, they go to sell the one thing, it doesn't sell, and they're like, I'm a crappy artist, no art sells. I should have listened to my mother. This is a hobby. No. It's number of arrows fired at the target. It's the number of songs written. The Bee Gees didn't write one song and it, it wasn't a hit and it quit, right? Like Saturday Night Fever or whatever the heck their song is. Saturday Night Fever, I think so. Was probably song number 575, right? That's how they got there. So that's what I would say. Yeah, and Teresa, let me tell you something about Pinterest, okay? Do you know who does their marketing on Pinterest? Artists that want to become hobbyists. No one is making any money from Pinterest. I've never seen an artist make any money from Pinterest. Pinterest is fantastic for the visual boards. If you want to have a little hobby, it is not for you to market and attempt to sell your art. Ever. Not at all. Not in the slightest. You need to max out Instagram. You do not need to be on Pinterest. Pinterest is for fun. Make little boards of things that you want to collect and everything else. I actually kind of really like the visual nature of Pinterest, although it's getting a little heavy with the ads and everything else. Has been for a while. But it's not for selling art. So don't waste your time on it. You can literally stop. People ask like, oh, how do you teach us to market? Half of what I do is just say, hey, don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. Now let's take that time and go put it on Instagram so you might actually start selling some stuff rather than just wasting time with tags and no one's seeing your art and the business is not going anywhere. So that's what I would say. How much product is a good question. It doesn't matter. One piece, right? Like, if someone asked me this question, like, how do you, how much product do you recommend to have together? Ultimately, I want you to work your way up to 0 to 100. Non-wall art is part of that price range. Prices from 100 to 1,000, 1,000 plus. Your store is going to be in a significantly better place if you can get there. That being said, what I don't like is this notion of I'll just get started when, right? I'll just get started when I know what my niche is. I'll just get started when I get the bank account set up. I'll just get started when I have 25 pieces together. I'll just get started once I build up some initial inventory. And then what ends up happening? The minutes turn into hours, turn into days. How's that website coming? How's that business coming? You take no forward steps whatsoever. So I am very much for launch with one piece, then create the other piece. Piece number 2 becomes a marketing moment, and then start working your way up to the price range, 0 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 plus. And that's how you get going, right? Like, good is the enemy of great, or great's the enemy of good, however you say that. Just, you're going to be embarrassed by your first version. Just get going. The guy that started LinkedIn's got the best line. I always screw his name up. One is Reed Hoffman. The other one's Reed Hastings. Is it Reed Hoffman? I think it's Hoffman. But anyway, I'm going to look this up so if I don't screw it. If you're not embarrassed, okay, by your first version, you've launched too late. Is that a great quote? If you're not embarrassed, okay, by your first version, and let me see, is it Hoffman? I think it's got to be Hoffman. I always screw these two names up. Here it is. It was Hoffman. I was right. This is like such a great quote. If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late, right? And his point is like, everyone's first version of their website is embarrassing. It doesn't have the right product balance and everything else. Like, that's just how it's going to go. It doesn't matter. The point is that you sit there and you think about it and the analysis paralysis, and then 5 years later, you actually get something in the water and it's like, no, just get on with it. Build the thing, try to start selling the thing, take some licks, start learning what people actually do want, and then maybe you'll be there, right? So that's what I would say. And now he's asking about enamel pins. I don't know if we have enamel pins or not. You'd have to contact. You'd have to get a demo and ask him. We have a ton of merch, but I don't know if pins is one of them. But pins are not going to make you or break you, right? The merch, like, you have to have the merch because it's just marketing, right? Like, I'm a guy that has spent so much of his life attempting to leverage every single solitary digital way to get your guys' damn attention, right? And anyone that's on this call knows I'm very good at it, right? Because between email and between Facebook and between Instagram, you can't not see art storefronts. We're freaking everywhere, right? Like, you see it all the time. You see it too much. You're inundated with emails. You're like, what is wrong with these people? So we're effective at getting attention. Do you know what I can't do? I can't take a Facebook ad and staple it to the wall in your kitchen. I would love to if I tried, if I could, but I can't, right? A calendar, you're not making millions of dollars on a calendar, right? But a calendar, for instance, is like you putting a Facebook ad of your artwork on my kitchen wall for an entire year. Do you know how valuable that is to someone like me as a digital marketer? Do you know how hard that is to achieve? Like, so too with the coffee cup, so too with the freaking cell phone case. You know, like if you get your photo of Positano on a cell phone cover in every single solitary day for the next 3 years or however long until my kids throw this phone in the bathtub, I'm looking at your work every single solitary day. Like, that is marketing that is just so incredibly powerful, which is why you have to have this stuff. Why you got to have this smaller stuff. You just have to. Like, again, like, nicest coffee cup in the history of mankind? No, it's not. Could care less. I'm looking at your work every single solitary day, every morning when I'm having my coffee or whatever, or it's pencil cup on top of my desk. Like, these are just basic rules of business. And like, if you guys were just be taught these things earlier on, the business would be so much further than it was earlier, right? Like, you know, the way that your artist brains work is that, like, I'm going to do it my way, or this other artist is doing it this way, so that's going to work that way for me. It's like, no. There are basic rules of business that have been tested through the cauldron of centuries, and they work. They'll work for you. All you have to do is put them into place. Pricing range. Website looks like I'm getting an art gallery. You're working on the marketing problem. All of a sudden, your business is growing. Otherwise it doesn't happen, right? And yeah, I mean, Elisa, there's not even a ramped up time. Like, again, I don't sugarcoat this. You guys all suck at marketing. None of you want to do regular marketing, and yet it's the only thing that's actually going to grow your business. And so you sign up, you start learning this stuff. You're going to be pulling your hair out of your head. You're going to be banging your head against the wall. You're like, why did I do this? But bit by bit, because you have a support structure in place, i.e. us, you will start getting the hang of it, and you will start getting better. And you need to give yourself 3 to 5 years, which is, by the way, any real business, but especially a creative business. You have to give yourself 3 to 5 years to actually get that thing growing and humming. But guess what happens? You learn how to run sales. You start capturing email addresses. You make it through that first year of hell of learning how to do all this marketing and all this stuff that you don't like, and how to merchandise your art and being on video occasionally and doing these things. Yes, I know it's annoying. Yes, I know you don't want to do it, but there is no alternative if you want to grow an art or photography business. It is either do the digital marketing and sell direct, or do the show and fair circuit, which, you know, has a ton of downsides too. Those are the 2 most effective ways to grow an art business, in conjunction with the 2 of them even better. Thinking you're going to make it on a marketplace or not. You're not going to make any money doing that. Those are unicorns that are getting away with that are actually making any money. And I don't care which one it is, Redbubble, Etsy, this, that one, Saatchi, Fine Art America, any of them. The gallery model also does not work for any artists or photographers. The ones that are successful, that are making, like, let's say, take home more than 6 figures a year in the gallery model, let alone like $75,000 and above, are kind of like the number of people that play golf or play basketball or play football and are professional athletes. That's how low the percentage of success is if you want to have a successful art photography business. That's how low it is. Like, that's how few people are actually making any money. So if you want a business that actually works and it's actually going to, you know, grow year on year on year, you got to create the stuff. You got to market the stuff. You got to sell the stuff. You do it all year long, and you put the work to it, and you get better and better and better. So that's what I would say. All right, I'm talking myself into circles. I'm going to send you guys an email with some stuff that I want you to read ahead of now, and, you know, when you can get to it, but not too long, right? Because, again, this 4th quarter is coming. It is a critically important time. It's the rising tide that lifts all boats, and the difference between being successful and not being successful is starting to get your practice in now, starting to do a little pre-marketing, getting your website in order, learning how to run a sale, doing some regular marketing, such that when the feeding frenzy happens at the end of October and the majority of November, you're locked in and you're good to go. You're not contemplating, well, what should I do? Everyone says, should I run a sale? And you put an Instagram post the day before Black Friday, and you're like, hope this works. Like, that's not going to work. You know what that looks like. You've done that plenty of times in the past. You have to start getting ready now. There is still time to get ready now. If your path is to sign up with us, we will build the doggone website for you. You don't even have to touch any of that. So you can go right into your marketing. So I will send you guys a follow-up email. It'll have all the thises, the that's, the others in it that I want you to look at and click on, that will help you out, especially the advanced pricing guide. I'll send you sort of some of the things that I articulated about what a website needs to be. Again, You don't need to take it as a sales pitch. I don't care if you sign it with us, but unless you fix these things, your business is not going to grow. Okay? It is not going to grow. In those other solutions out there, there is a reason that no one is successful on them. They are solving the wrong problem. If your website is not solving your marketing problem, your business is not going to grow. It's just that simple. Or you're making it very difficult on yourself. So I will email that stuff. Appreciate you guys all spending this much time with me on a Monday. I hope it was informative. I hope it was valuable. Yeah, I'll send you the replay. And then other than that, any final questions before we go? That's the others. All good, one way or the other. Yes, Doug, we definitely have greeting cards, and I definitely like the greeting cards. And the greeting cards are also great for thank you notes. I really like the coasters too. But you know what? You know what sells best out of our entire merchandise stack, believe it or not, are the tote bags. And I get it because they're highly functional and you can use them for things. And you know, it's a decent price point. But it just depends on who you are and like what your individual business is. But again, like in terms of the merch, I don't care what it is. All I care is that it's not wall art, okay? And to have a decent range of it is great because then they're going to buy from you, and then you're going to have a Facebook ad with them 24 hours a day for however long that piece of merch lasts. That's kind of nice. And they might give it to their friends, right? And it works great, like, you know, when they buy an original and they have like the greeting cards, and then they can be like, look at me. Not only do I have the original because I'm better than you, but I can now write greeting cards with the original and send you a little note because I'm pretentious. You know, that way, every other way. The stuff just works. It's great, right? So I want you guys to think about all of that. We have time till Q4. I don't want you guys phoning this one in. We can do it. We can do this. So I'm going to send you some follow-up material, send you an email in a little bit. Appreciate all of you guys. Great rest of your days. Great week. And hope to see you either on the inside or on a Zoom or somewhere. Okay.